So I'll offer some words of encouragement in my Dharma talk. My aspiration, my desire in the Dharma talk is to just give you some encouragement, give you some, perhaps a little prompt or a poke to look at something in a different way. So hopefully by the end, you'll just be able to look at something in a different way in your life, and maybe even deeper than that. Maybe there'll be an insight or a shift of some sort. I'm going to be talking about a koan from our tradition. And the koans are such concentrated expressions of spiritual power that they can really have an effect on us. So I hope to channel that for you. Perhaps it can work as a medicine, for what ails you. So, our talk today is on Blue Cliff Record Case 87, Medicine and Disease. Unmon said, medicine and sickness quell each other. The whole earth is medicine. What is yourself? Okay, it's a very short koan, it's just 3 lines. I'm going to read another translation. Sickness and medicine are in accord with each other. The whole world is medicine. What am I? Okay. So in this talk, I invite you to just reflect on, or connect with what is illness for you, what illness has been for you. Are you sick? Some of us are sick, are ill, with deep physical illnesses. And we all have afflictions, all the time. So, we can look at heartache, heartbreak as a sickness. We can look at depression as a sickness. We can look at addiction as a sickness. Okay, so all of these afflictions that we may need medicine for or healing for. So connecting with yours as you're experiencing them now, perhaps have experienced them in the past, for this investigation. So the teacher in this koan is Unmon. Unmon lived in the 9th and the 10th centuries, part of the golden age of Zen. He's actually the teacher who is most quoted throughout our entire koan curriculum. He's not as perhaps famous or known to those outside of the tradition who don't do koan practice, who might be more familiar with other names like Joshu or Hakuin, Rinzai. But Unmon is the most quoted, so he really had a range of expression. He could be very pithy, and he could also be more discursive. And he could come in from all different angles. And we have a lot. I'm not sure exactly how many. It's probably something like 30 across the tradition that have Unmon's teachings in different ways. And I'll actually bring in a second one from Unmon later on in the talk. Medicine and sickness quell each other, or subdue each other, or are in accord with each other. So this is very provocative, from the beginning here, right? So it definitely asks us to question our normal understanding of sickness and medicine, right? We don't think of it this way. There's something intriguing going on here. Normally, sickness is bad, that's the affliction we have, and then after we get sick, we bring in something called medicine that comes in and heals us or cures us or makes us feel better. Okay, it's that very binary kind of view. And here, he's not saying that sickness doesn't exist or medicine doesn't exist, but he's saying that they subdue or quell or are in accord with each other. For me, right at the top, it's like, well, what is sickness? Okay, so it's just asking us right away, what is sickness? What is medicine? What are they, if they're so intimately connected like this? And we're reminded that, according to lore, our Buddhist lore, the Buddha was initiated in his spiritual path by escaping from the palace and then seeing the 4 afflictions, the pains of birth, illness, old age, and death. So illness, I think, is the first one he saw. He might have seen a mother or a baby first, but illness was either the first or the second. So he saw an old person. Right? So right there's an initiation into the spiritual path. What is this? What is this? When we're deeply ill, our sense of ourself changes, doesn't it? Yeah. Some of us. I'm sure all of us have experienced this. Even if you get like a really bad flu, you start to see yourself in a very different way. And then, for those of us wrestling with life-threatening illnesses, we're constantly called to this question of who am I? What is this? We have to see ourselves as being different from the fixed notion that we had considered ourselves to be. Because usually that notion doesn't include the sickness. Right? It's something different. It's something better, more pleasurable, more stable, more normal, relative. Right? The sickness is extra. It's other. It's a negation of that fixed view. When I get sick, I become much more intimate with my body. Illness, physical illness, calls us into intimate connection with our body. It goes for a cold, it goes for a flu, it goes for a virus, it goes for pains in the body. It goes for emotional afflictions too, depression. I've had depressive waves in my life. Sometimes they used to be. They would extend over long periods of time in the 20s. And nowadays, they last for a few hours, at most a day. But I can feel it very distinctly in my body when a depressive wave comes in. It's quite precise. Sometimes I can feel the exact moment that a wave of depression, like many people nodded, so you've experienced this. And then it's a very familiar at this point sensation, the pressure in the brow, energetic, some contraction on the inside. It's a very, very discrete experience. And it's a very intimate experience, and it's actually a very beautiful experience to become that intimate with myself. There's a real blessing in this, and there's also wisdom in what we call sickness. So sickness and medicine are in accord with each other. They meet each other intimately. You might even find that they shift places, which is the sickness, and which is the medicine. You might have some examples of this to share in our discussion, but one that came to me was looking at Zazen as the medicine that I bring and have brought to my own sense of affliction, of disconnection. That was the primary affliction I felt I was suffering from. I'm not sure I would have put it in those words when I started my practice, but I came to see that was the affliction that I was feeling. Disconnection from source, disconnection from nature, disconnection from the divine, disconnection from other people. So now Zazen became a medicine, undoubtedly a medicine, to help with that. And then my disconnection and my connection were in intimate accord, and are still in intimate accord, meeting each other. Not existing without the other. But you know, Zazen can also turn into a sickness. Yeah, there's actually a thing, a phrase we have called Zen sickness that Hakun suffered from. It was actually a physical illness that he got, most likely from meditating too much. And you know, you may have encountered, and I've come across people who have, you know, pushed too far or done too much meditation when it wasn't right for their organism, or they had pushed it too far. In fact, I had a student just in the last few months who I highly recommended they stop sitting for a period of time. So there can be those physical manifestations of sitting too much, but there can also be spiritual illness that comes from sitting too much, which is you can get attached to your emptiness, attached to your own awakeness, your insight, your brilliant insight, that you're not limited to yourself. Right? Yeah, actually, in one of the other koans where Unmon talks, he actually talks about this specifically. It's the book of Equanimity, case 11. So for those of you a little bit inside baseball with respect to Zen, the book of Equanimity is the Soto collection, and the Blue Cliff Record is more of a Rinzai collection. So the first expression of the koan was very pithy. It was just the 3 lines, and that's the Rinzai way, which is a real direct breakthrough experience. And then the Soto is a bit subtler and nuanced, and it can be more discursive. So I'm not going to say the whole koan because it's actually quite long, but Unmon, the same teacher in a different context, talks about how we can have 2 sicknesses. One is the sickness of feeling ourselves separate from all things. But then, once we feel that we are all connected to all things, that's still a sickness too. Because who's connected to all things? And what are all these things that we're connected to? Okay? There's still something there. So, awakening can be the medicine for a sense of separation, and then it can also become a sickness. If we take it that way, if we use it that way. There's an analogy I'm trying to remember that I remember Shishin Rishi talking about something about venom. The snake turns water into venom. The cow turns water into milk. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe in the discussion someone will have a better recollection of what I'm looking for here. But yeah, I wanted to give Shishin Roshi's commentary on Unmon's 2 sicknesses, the second koan I just referenced. He said, even as you continue to deepen your awareness and understanding, stop subtly looking for a place to hang your hat. Don't stand still. Don't rest anywhere. As soon as you rest, you're stuck, ultimately. There's not even a square inch of ground on which to stand. As soon as you say, this is it, you've fallen into illness. As soon as you fall into saying, As soon as you say, this is it, you fall into illness. That's a provocative statement. So I'm going to take this another notch up and pose this question. Actually, yeah. Yeah, so we understand the three poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. The three poisons that produce illness, right? Poisons produce illness. So, can these be seen in some ways medicines? I don't know the answer to that. I wrote that and it was like, oh, I gotta say something wise about that. What's my answer to that? It's like, I don't know. So I'm asking you that. We can discuss. Yeah, but maybe somewhat related is there, can self-centeredness actually be a medicine? Yeah, I think that's what's underneath that question. For me, that inquiry. Sometimes is self-centeredness called for in order to counteract or intimately accord with a condition that is perhaps afflictive or out of harmony in some way. Can self-centeredness actually do that? I'm thinking, what came to me just now is, I'm thinking about the way you are, if anyone's ever had the misfortune of being in a relationship with a narcissist, like a textbook narcissist, the only way to do that, to deal with that, is to not have a relationship. Any sort of engagement, they wrap into their delusional mindset. We know nothing about this personality type, do we? Unfortunately, when narcissists take power, not good. And I mean textbook narcissists. We all have narcissistic tendencies. So, right? So maybe there's something in that, like self-centeredness. I'm gonna take care of this right here, and I am not gonna interact or connect with you at all. I think that's really good medicine for that toxic relationship. So the first shift invited by this koan is to look at sickness and medicine with new eyes. Again, the question is, what is sickness? What is medicine? To not fix them, to see them as intimately related, as shifting, and possibly even shifting into each other. Okay. If nothing else, you can take that from this talk, look at it differently. The second line, the whole world is medicine. The whole world is medicine. So, the question here for me is, what is medicine? What is medicine? This koan was put into my mind just a few days ago. I was attending a presentation by another teacher in the White Lama Sangha, and he was actually giving a presentation on plant medicine in conjunction with Zen practice, so ayahuasca specifically. And he started his presentation talking about this koan, and I just was reminded of the koan, so I went. He took it in a different direction than I am, because we have this formal name, plant medicine for the ayahuasca. But this is, the next question. What is medicine? Well, the whole world is medicine. The according to this koan. Can we see it that way? Can we see that medicine is everywhere? One translation says the whole world is medicine. The other one says the whole earth is medicine. So I'm not sure what the Chinese word was, but or I guess this would be Japanese. Nope, this is the records would be Chinese. The whole earth is medicine. So at that level, we can look at nature and Gaia and this great animate existence that we're a part of. It's fundamentally medicine. It includes viruses, right? It includes cancers. But the whole world is medicine. It includes people and their actions and their foibles and their feelings. The whole world is medicine. If the whole world is medicine, then the whole world is sickness. Because they're in intimate accord, never separate from each other. And of course, our first noble truth in Buddhism is that life is suffering. So there's something there. Sickness pervades, medicine pervades. Once again, it's a call to become intimate with ourselves, to find what is working. What is working is sickness, what is working is medicine, and how they are working together. We've become aware recently of this therapeutic teaching, which says the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. Addiction is the sickness. Connection is the medicine. Is the whole world connection? The whole earth connection? The third line, what am I, or what is yourself? Who am I? So this is the core question for our Zen practice. Who am I? Yeah. So we've entered into this exploration of sickness and medicine, and we're opening that up, and then we're opening it up to what is the whole nature of medicine and sickness, ever present, and now we're getting at the whole mind. Whenever we fix anything, we're fixing ourselves. We fix the object, we fix the subject. We call that sickness, and it tends to turn into, well, I'm the one who's sick. There's a certain understanding of myself that's wrapped up in that. Who's sick? Dogen has a poem he wrote that another teacher brought in as a commentary to this koan. I want to conclude with this. Dogen says, all my life, false and real, right and wrong, are entangled. Looking at sickness and health are entangled. Playing with the moon, ridiculing the wind, listening to birds. Many years wasted seeing the mountain covered with snow. This year I suddenly realized snow makes the mountain. What is yourself? I like that phrase, snow makes the mountain. We look out west here, there, west. And of course, I think it's the hottest day of the year so far at 92 here in Boulder. So I don't see any snow still on those flat irons, long gone. Long Peak might still have some. But that shape of the snow, that's what brings the mountain alive. They're intimately in accord. We could say the mountain gives form to the snow, and the snow brings life to the mountain. Maybe that's something of the relationship of sickness and medicine. I was just reminded of Zen teacher Isan Dorsey, who had AIDS and died of AIDS. And he was asked, he was a drag queen, activist in San Francisco. And he was asked once about his illness, about AIDS, and he said, AIDS is life. Yeah. So it's good matter for reflection, good matter for inquiry, in our practice. Look at our own illness, look at our own sickness, look at what we consider to be afflictive within our bodies and within our minds. And can we see that where is the life? Where is the life in this? Where is the wisdom in this? Shifting out of the binary of sickness and medicine. Having that open up. It's quite an intimate koan for all of us. Thank you for your attention. I hope this was interesting.